Hello public speakers, professional speakers and Toastmasters. This is Sundaram Chintamani. Today I am going to talk about how to structure any speech with the help of building blocks that I have created. It can be any genre. Any public speech can be divided into four major categories. Number one is informative speech. The second one is humorous speech. The third one is persuasive speech. And the fourth one is inspiration speech. Now let's try to understand how each of these speeches can be constructed with the help of a building block. To start with, let's take informative speech. Normally when you start writing a script for your speech, so immediately you start with the opening and then addressing the dignitaries on the stage and then give an introduction all about and then get into the body of the subject. But today my approach is going to be slightly different. We are straight away getting to the body of the subject. Any speech can be broadly be bucketed under three major buckets or three major pillars. So these three major pillars will differ from each kind of speech. For example, if we start talking about informative speech, the very first aspect what we are going to address is the what aspect and the when aspect. Probably your informative speech can be on ChatGPT. So I can talk about what is ChatGPT, when did it get evolved, when it can be applied. So all this can be addressed in the first segment of this speech. The second segment of your speech will be why and the where part. Why at all ChatGPT? What is the need today? Why we are supposed to use it in our personal life and professional life, and where it can be implemented. So that will be the second aspect of it. The third aspect would be how far, how to use this technology, how to ask intelligent questions to ChatGPT so that you leverage this tool to the great extent, how to become a prompt engineer. So all that would be addressed in the third aspect of it. So now the what and the when, why and where, and finally the how part, so that now the body of the speech is addressed. This is going to be an outline for your speech. So once this outline is defined, now you have to think about the beginning of your speech or the opening of your speech. The opening of any speech should be attention grabbing. Within the first 30 or 60 seconds, you are supposed to grab the attention of the audience, for which different techniques are available. For example, you can ask a question and expect the audience to respond so that you build a rapport and then move into the body of the speech. Or you can open with a quote, very popular quote, then tell a story, that can be a different approach, then share a fact. For example, for this informational speech, sharing a fact can be an appropriate opening. So now opening is ready and the body is ready. Finally, now we have to conclude this speech. The conclusion is equally important like the opening and body, because the last message is going to be the lasting message. You have to make your speech memorable by closing your speech with a punch. This can be again done with by calling to action, invite the audience to respond, then restate a message, then end with a quote. For this informational speech, probably restating your entire speech or summarizing the points can be appropriate approach. So now the beginning is done, body is done, and the closure is done. What else is needed? The last one is the title for your speech. The title should be equally be interesting. So if you are talking about the title should not reveal your subject. So the moment that the subject is revealed, probably some members of the audience may shut their ears. There will not be any curiosity amongst the audience. In order to create curiosity, you have to come out with an intriguing title. For example, again, this topic on ChatGPT, instead of saying ChatGPT and its benefits, ChatGPT and its features, your title can be Silent Partner. So the moment that people hear this title, Silent Partner, they are clueless. So they will be eager to listen to your speech. So now once this title is ready, beginning, body, conclusion is ready. You all may be wondering, so what's with these gaps? So is it okay to leave this building block with the superstructure alone? So this is where you have to fill up the gaps with the cementing material. What are the cementing material? All your support points. The support points can come from your personal story or external story, then your quotes, statistics, all kind of support materials you can fill it up so that your entire speech is seamless from the beginning to body and body to conclusion. This is how you are going to approach an informative speech. I guess now all of you had an idea how to structure an informative speech. Now let's move on to the humorous speech. So the humorous speech. The very purpose of humorous speech is to entertain the audience with the approach of humor. So it is slightly different from stand-up comedy. While in a stand-up comedy, the speaker or the performer cracks jokes after jokes without any connecting thread, in a humorous speech, the speaker has got a theme or a connecting thread. So here the humor is going to be a little subtle. Now let's see how to structure this speech. Again, we are not getting into the beginning of the speech, we are going to focus the body of the speech. The very first element is going to be self-deprecating humor. Try to come out with a humor story that is going to be self-deprecating. The moment you try to bring in self-deprecating story, then the audience, they find it easy to connect with you. So otherwise, when you are trying to glorify yourself, you are putting yourself on the pedestal, and then there is a huge gap between you and the audience. The moment you try to bring in self-deprecating humor, then you are very much closely connecting with the audience. The second aspect is going to be exaggeration. Exaggeration is going to be the second aspect of a humorous story. The third element of a humorous speech is going to be surprise elements. So this is where you are going to bring the surprise elements. So once this is done, again you are going to focus on the beginning of the story. So as I said earlier, you have multiple approaches: asking a question, open with a quote, tell a story, and share a fact. Since this is going to be a humorous speech, telling a story can be an appropriate opening. And again, the ending, restate main message, end with a quote, invite the audience to respond, call to act. Probably here you can try to end with a quote. Take a very popular quote, try to make a small twist, so that is when you can still bring humor even at the end. So this is how you address a humorous speech. So the beginning is ready, body is ready, and the conclusion is ready. And again, the title is very vital even for a humorous speech. So now I think you all got an idea how to structure a humorous speech. Friends, now let's try to understand the third genre of speech, which is known as persuasive speech. Here the sole idea of the speaker is to persuade the audience for a noble cause. Finally, expect the audience to agree with his own thought process. The topic can be something related to blood donation, or it can be about the environmental issues, or it can be something to do with the underprivileged people and the kind of charity to be done for the underprivileged people. The topic can be anything. So here you are going to persuade the audience. Again, we are going to approach the body of the speech with three different elements. It is not very easy to persuade people with your own thought process. Always people have a skeptic mind and they will never agree unless you are trying to tackle them in a different manner. So in order to tackle this persuasive speech, the very first element is going to be logic. So unless logically you prove a point, you support these logical points with data points, statistics, people will not get convinced. So logic is going to be an important element of a persuasive speech. Again, logic alone will not be sufficient to persuade the audience. The second aspect has to come here is the emotion. So emotion is going to be the second aspect of your persuasive speech. For example, if you are going to talk about blood donation, you can tell how blood donation is saving people, how many people need blood, what are all the different kinds of blood groups, so which blood group can match with the different type of blood groups, all that he can tackle under logic. But only when you tell a personal story, how you have saved a life by donating a blood, so all that will be the emotional part of it. Finally, you have to call to act. So finally, using all this story, you have to ask the audience to act. You have to persuade the audience to accept your thought process. So that is the CTA, call to act or call for action. So that is going to be the final element of your persuasive speech. Again, opening is equally important. Either open with a quote, ask a question, share a fact, tell a story. Probably here you can ask a question. How many times you have donated blood in your life? How many times your relatives are looking for blood during emergency? So that kind of question you can ask to get to the body of the speech. Then the closure. Of course, there are multiple ways to close your speech, but invariably for a persuasive speech, call to act. As I said earlier, call to action is going to be the important element of this closure. Again, for this particular speech, the title is equally important. So try to give a very interesting title, a metaphoric title that will make your speech memorable, and that will also help the audience to be curious to know what you are going to speak on this particular persuasive speech. Friends, now the last genre, what is that? It is going to be an inspirational speech. If you see all the popular speeches across the globe, most of them will be inspirational speeches. If you see all the contest speech for Toastmasters under the international speech category, they will all be inspirational speeches. What are the different elements of an inspirational speech? Let's go with the three-pillar approach. Here you are going to tell a story about the protagonist who is at point A. So the protagonist can be the speaker or his friend, family member, or even an institution. Point A, specifically at a very lower point. For example, the protagonist may be at a totally confused state. He may be an illiterate. He may be financially a pauper. He has faced several failures. All that will be point A. Point A will be at the beginning of your speech. At the end of your speech, the protagonist will be at point B. For example, in point A, if the protagonist is totally confused, now he has got absolute clarity. Here at point A, if he is totally a poor, now he has become a rich person. So at point A, if he is an illiterate, now here he may be a postdoctoral fellowship person. Here, if he is a rude person, here he would have a refined and a kind person. So it is going to be a huge delta from point A to point B. So this is going to be the two different elements of your speech, point A to point B. And how do the audience get inspired? By narrating the how part of it. You are going to talk about the process from point A to process B. You are not putting the protagonist in pedestal, but you are going to put this process in pedestal. And again, you are going to, as an inspiration speaker, you will be using all kind of stage elements like body language, vocal variety, eye contact, and then stage usage, etc. So that the audience totally they are with you. The major difference between inspiration speech and the previous one, persuasive speech, is in the persuasive speech, the speaker explicitly go for a call to act, whereas in the last genre, inspiration speech, the speaker will not be explicit in calling for an action. The audience automatically get inspired by listening to the story of the protagonist moving from point A to point B and trying to understand the process, and again with the help of your stage presence, body language, vocal variety, etc. So automatically they get inspired. Again, for this speech, the beginning is important. You can tell a story, you can open with a quote, ask a question, share some fact. Probably telling a story can be a good choice for opening this kind of speeches. Ending your story, probably for an inspiration speech, you can expect the audience to respond. You can ask a question and the audience will automatically respond based on your message. That will also be a cue for you to know that the audience have got the message of what you have spoken in your inspirational speech. Again, a title is important for this inspirational story too. Try to have a metaphoric title that will help your speech become memorable speech, that will also make your speech unguessable. Speakers, today just now I explained how to handle 4 different genres of speech with the help of the building blocks. So this is going to be one simple approach. With this kind of approach, I think you will be able to approach different genres in an easy manner. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please share your comments and feedback in the comment section. Have a great day.